And then just some podcast. Well, you know how these work, but if you ever see, actually, that's a good example. If you ever see this happening,
Yep.
It just means you pressed the thing. So try to. If you ever notice that it's not green, that's a problem.
This is all going to be just fun bloopers.
Mm-hmm. It'll just be a silent podcast, which I've definitely done before.
Hey guys, Jackie's back. You might have noticed that this episode started with a little bit of like Zoe showing Scotty how to hold the mic. I just thought that was good irony, and I would start the episode with that because for about half of the episode, a little bit less than half of the episode, Scotty's mic is not working, and so you kind of can hear him come through Zoe's mic. So what I did, because I love you guys and this was a good episode, is I literally went through clip by clip, sectioned it out, put Scotty's volume really high because it picked up on Zoe's mic, put Zoe's mic low. So it's still a really good conversation. You can still hear Scotty. It just took some more editing, which is also why this is coming out at about 8 a.m. CT instead of 6 a.m. So don't kill me, but, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah, it's still a really, really good episode. Scotty's great. They have a really great conversation about UGC, content creation, B2B, all that kind of stuff. It was really, really interesting to listen to, even just for myself. So I hope you guys enjoy. And I wanted to let you guys know that if you go to about 33 minutes, that's when they realize Scotty's mic is off and he's at good volume. Okay, all right. Enjoy the episode, and I hope you guys have an amazing week. And oh my God, happy 4th of July. Okay, bye guys.
All right. Welcome back to Let's Laugh About It. We have a special guest today. Well, welcome to Let's Laugh About It. I'm really excited to have you on. I'm going to let Scotty kind of give an introduction about who he is and where he's at right now. And I'm pick Scotty's brain all about content. I'm excited because a lot of the things that we talk about are for the podcast are kind of like brand side, business, strategic, blah, blah, blah. And like a lot of times content rolls into it, but we don't have a lot of guests that talk about like the other side of like deliverables bringing to businesses. And so I'm going to pick your brain a lot about those areas too. And but anyways, before we jump into it too far, tell the podcast a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I am the special guest. I am Scotty Scheller. It kind of feels like a dating show.
So when I talked to Scotty about his content and what he does, if you were to kind of see Scotty on like in an ad or something, because it's interesting because I'll be, scrolling through my Instagram and then I'm like, oh, there's Scotty, but it's not Scotty's Instagram. It's an ad that Scotty's filming. And if you didn't know who Scotty was or you just came across it, you're like, oh, this is just a UGC creator, or, like he's hired to say whatever this business wants to say on an ad. But when you talk to Scotty, he's like everything behind, not just like a business gives him copy and he reads it and films it and sends it back. It is way more of like the business aspect, which is very unique because companies are always looking for these UGC creators. For the listeners who don't know, user-generated creators. Content, user-generated content. So it's a lot of like when UGC started, it was like, oh, let's lean into our like actual users of our products and just get content from it. And it's like a lot of times it was like lower quality but more genuine. And the whole UGC thing has developed in the marketing world, which I'd love to hear your take on it. But first, I want to know, how did you get into what you're doing today?
Yeah. So it's actually funny because I wasn't ever going to do this. Like that wasn't my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually supposed to be a hockey player. Like that was where like my life was sports. Like I loved hockey and I still love hockey, but ended up getting injured and that was the end of that career. And so after that, it was months and months and months of being in hospitals and recovering and doing all that stuff. And while I was in there, it was okay. Well, let's try to figure out a way to ultimately make money while we're here because I've got downtime. And started learning marketing, started learning branding, started learning about like the human mind, and it dove so much deeper than like what I ever thought I was going to do, because I started looking at it like, okay, I need to learn how to market, I need to learn sales, I need to learn all this stuff, but I learned that more than anything, it's the human mind that buys things. It's not about what I create. It's about what I can make you feel. It's about what I can make like the audience or the customer feel in the moment that links to a product that makes them want to buy. And I basically started my company as just consulting businesses on creative ideas, creative imagination, creative, like what it would look like. And this was back in like 2017-ish. And it was really interesting because I got to see marketing in a way where it used to be UGC wasn't popular. It wasn't a thing. It was like we pay for billboards, we pay for, commercial, we pay for all that stuff. And then right when 2020 hit and like we all went into lockdown mode, that's when UGC was really, really important. It was the most important thing because companies couldn't have commercial shoots. They couldn't do anything. And what I was blessed enough in that time, because I was working with my buddy Gordon, who owns a creative agency here, and companies were looking for ways to ultimately build their brand still without being stagnant, and they couldn't figure it out. And what Gordon did is he basically was like, hey, send me the products, I'll shoot them at my studio, and we'll send it back to you so you guys aren't in a lull. And so that stuff would come in, and while it was there, I would pick it up and be like, what if I did this like a creative thing of me just talking about the product? Like, let's just talk about the product and we'll send it back to them. So they have like an organic thing, because we're all stuck at home. So we want to relate to people who are stuck at home. And so I was just taking products and doing little stupid like UGC videos, and we'd send them back and they'd run them as ads, and it was working. And I was like, okay, so I'm definitely not the first UGC creator, like I'm saying that. But
Scotty is the creator of UGC.
I started seeing that market kind of shift in that direction where immediately I was like, this is not going to leave even after COVID. And so I just developed, my UGC kind of style was take a brand and do it in as many ways as I could possibly do it. So instead of just getting some kind of product, say like one of these sodas or one of these drinks, and just being like, hey, this soda's really good, talking about it. It's like, let's make one that's really organic, like just iPhone style. Let's make one that's super high end, like commercial style, and then one that's right in that middle, like teetering back and forth, where it's professionally shot, but it's more of a creator doing. And that way you're hitting every avenue in every market. And I'm a big analytics guy, because one piece of UGC isn't going to work for every brand. Some people need more professional, some people need more, of that kind of like base layer, kind of, whatever, like simple, and I just started beta testing it. So I'd send 3 pieces of creative to a company, let them run it, and they'd come back and say, hey, this one's working. It's like, okay, cool. So now we have analytics. So now I can go out and I can find the market of all these UGC creators. So it's like, hey, you're specifically good at this. I want you to do this in this way. And so instead of wasting time, wasting budget, wasting, like the capacity of your mind to like come up with all these brilliant ideas, it's like, let's just test to see what works. If it works, that means that that's going to work really well for your company. And like also figure out what your audience is. And so I got really good at, okay, learning about a product, learning who their audience is, and then speaking to that audience. Because I think that's one thing that a lot of brands do very, very poorly is they speak to the masses. They just speak. And there's no idea of who they're talking to. You don't have like an avatar that you're talking to. And so what I do is I go in and I figure out, who are we talking to here? If it's, 55 plus year old women, I'm not going to be hitting them on TikTok. I'm not going to be shooting it like I'm shooting something for TikTok. It's going to be, a Facebook ad. It's going to be really, talking to them where they're at and making them feel comfortable so they don't just swipe by it. And so when I'm making content, if you've seen my content, if you've seen my ads, I have a very specific style, but it's shot in a lot of different ways. And so I'm hitting every different mark. I don't know if we're still even on the same question that you asked, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it. That's how I've developed my kind of skill and my kind of style.
Yeah, and what's cool with Scotty too, I thought this was very like admirable. Well, 2 things. One, when people are very blessed and like talented in the really great high quality content, I feel like they're almost scared or they don't want to put out the lower quality iPhone content because it could like in their mind maybe like bring down their credibility of like, I usually shoot really great content, but you understand that there is a need for that because if it's really high quality all the time, people know that like, okay, a brand is just paying someone $1 million to say whatever they want to say, where like lower quality UGC, like traditional content is like more believable depending on what your audience is. And so like, that's really cool that you're able to like understand and lead into that and not be like, afraid almost. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like those, the high quality content creators or ad makers. They're like not really putting out, they only do high quality kind of things. And then the other thing is when Scotty like understands this avatar for brands, a lot of times you'll be like, well, I'm not the right person to be the person filming this. So I'm going to go find someone, but don't worry, I can still help you. I'll just go find someone who speaks better to your audience. And that's like how I kind of understood that your brand, your like business kind of developed, because it's just like not just you anymore, but it's like you've got this team of, you go out and find people to help you because that's what's best for that client.
And that's kind of how it is in everything. I mean, like none of us are great at everything. And none of us are like, you're not designed to be the face of every brand. You know, I've been blessed enough where I work with companies that like I truly love, like Manscaped, Bill, like all these guys, like where it's like they're family to me. Like I rock the product, I use the product, I'm always using it. So it's like it just makes sense to, be a part of that family. But then we have the stuff that you and I shoot together, like we've shot, where it's like, maybe it's just not my kind of style, but the brand still has value.
Yeah.
It's just because like it's not me, it doesn't mean I can't help you.
Yeah.
And also it's a little bit better on that hand because then I'm able to give them so much more than just me.
Yeah.
Instead of paying me, for my face and my likeness and all that stuff, it's like, no, like let me go out, let me get you 4 different creators. Let's shoot it 4 different ways, and now you have more content than if it was just coming through me. Because also, I can't really speak to something authentically a lot of the time if I don't care about it.
Yep.
Like that's the biggest thing. Is like I want to promote the product that I truly love and I'm truly behind. And people don't believe that a lot of the time, but it's like I'm wearing Built right now. Like my legs are freshly manscaped. Like that's just. Like it's just a part of being a creator, and like when you're looking for a creator, if there's any brands listening, find the creators who, first off, would look good with your product. Secondly, they believe in your product wholeheartedly. Like they don't have to necessarily be like, this is my brand, but they have to believe it works. Because we've all seen those people who just talk out their ass. I don't know if you can cuss on this podcast.
Yeah, you can.
Those people who can talk out their ass about something all day long, but end of the day, they're not using it.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many content creators I talk to every single day who, they're working with, some like supplement brand, and I'm like, oh, how's the supplement? Like, dude, it tastes like crap. And then I watch their stuff, and they're talking such like in high regard about it.
No.
And I'm like, dude, like that's so off because, and it's big names.
Yeah.
It's huge names.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like that's just not cool. First of all, like there's just a lot to that, but also it doesn't line up with your brand, and so now you're trying to promote something that doesn't fit you. And so if another brand comes to you and goes like would you like to do this, and you actually like that brand, are you going to now shift your identity to this brand is great? And it's like now you got 2 products that are counteracting each other, and so yeah, it's interesting, but I truly believe in who I work with, and I truly believe in the people and the community that's behind the product. I think that's another thing is if you're a brand and if you're a content creator, look for the person that's going to create your content as a family member, and then if you're a content creator, look at the brand as this is my family. Like this is my brand. Like when I sign on with brands, I'm just ranting at this point. If I sign on with a brand, I truly believe I own the brand.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. Where it's like I want this thing to succeed so bad because it's my brand that I wear it with like that much pride. Where it's like this has to perform or else my company dies.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. It's interesting because sometimes I'll look at things where it's like, there are companies who need ads that it's like, maybe, like you can do the job for them and then you can find like the avatar for that. Or like, sometimes you need to like separate yourself of like, okay, this brand maybe is like just starting out, and like maybe some of the brands that you work with or that you love today were not the brands that they were. Well, a lot of them, they weren't the brand that they are today, like 2 years ago. So sometimes, and I get this with some of our like agency or like my consulting and stuff, where it's like, okay, this is a starting brand, and maybe I don't want to say that I don't agree with what they're doing, but I'm not like a super fan of the product or this right now, but I can see like the potential. And so I'm like willing to help and guide them towards that potential of like, maybe I will, like once they get there, you know, I will be a super fan of the brand and I'm still willing to like help, but maybe it's not a brand that I'm going to shout off the top of the mountains about yet. But and so I've found that, which is very interesting, because on the influencing side, it's like I will never ever, you know, tell someone to buy something if I don't truly believe in it. But I'm also like, you have to separate yourself of like, now on the business side, I'm super willing to help someone who's like a good person, who maybe their brand or their product isn't something I'm like super in love with, but I can see the potential and like understand that there is an audience for it. And you have to like separate yourself from those things. But at the same time, like on the influencing, or like if you're, there's also like some brands, if I do content for them, I will post it on my own Instagram, you know, but sometimes if I'm not like a super fan of that brand, I'm like, sure, I'll work with you. But I'm like, just to be clear, I'm not going to like post it on my like Instagram or my socials yet, because I want to see like if I even like it or anything. I don't know if you resonate with that, but
100%.
yeah.
And I can talk to that too, because like I'm still in that space where, you know, I will have brands come to me where they're like, hey, we need this kind of content, and I'm looking at it and I go, and I love the person, I love the face behind the brand, I love everything, and it's almost like, let me help you get it to a place where it is going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
So in that time, it's like, if I can see the potential, absolutely I'm gonna talk about it, you know. And I'm like, I'm the same as you, where it's like, I'm not gonna post about it and talk about it on my channel, but I'll make the content for you, because at that point I'm not technically an actor, but I'm helping you get the name out there. And then behind the scenes, I'm also going, listen, this is how I would do it. This is what I would change, because at the end of the day, when you're a business owner, nobody's going to love your business as much as you do.
Yep.
That's just how it goes. And so you could be so blinded by something that's missing. And I think as a business owner, you have to be very, very open to criticism. Where if something's a little off, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to be talking about something, I'm the consumer. I am your audience.
Yeah.
And so you should listen to your audience and go like, okay, well, what is this guy saying? And then taking that poll of going like, okay, how do I get this out to enough people where they will give me honest feedback?
Yep.
You know, and not asking them for anything but feedback. You know, because I think too many brands do that, where they're like, hey, we'll send you free product if you tell us about this. Like, don't offer anything like that, because if you offer them more stuff, they're gonna feel the obligation to do it. It's like, no, like, all I want you to do is rip this thing apart.
Yeah.
You know, like I've worked with businesses where I'm like, listen, tell your audience to absolutely trash you.
Yeah.
Like, trash you. Like, because you want to know, because there's going to be people who just like go off on just random things. But if you look at the metrics after a while, if there's 50 people that all said the same thing, now you have an analytic that says this should probably change, because you've got the majority of the people saying they don't like this piece. Now you've got enough information that you can change it. So if like Deborah and Tony and Billy and everybody says they don't like the taste of something, odds are the taste is a little off. If you've got one person who's like, this tastes like absolute crap, and the rest of them don't say anything, it's like, okay, you know, it's a very select person. So don't be afraid to put your guard down and go, no, like, I need information. I need to grow. I need to scale.
Yep.
And, you know, that's kind of like in the outside of the content creation side of it. But that's just business development 101, where it's like, I need feedback in order to change. And don't be going after the people who are just going to kiss your ass. I think too many businesses really want their ego to be inflated.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go after their already established clientele and go like, hey, like, how do you like it? Of course they like it. They keep coming back. But what can we change to attract somebody else?
We actually experienced this with Chomps, because not the fact that we weren't able to, or we always took like the voice of the customer very, very seriously, where it's like you take the feedback and you act on it. But for so long, Chomps was advertising or just like targeting this like select group of people. It started with like CrossFitters and Whole30 and keto and like all those people. And the bigger and bigger we got, we were like, wait, we need to learn how to like talk to the masses and take the feedback from the masses and like create more flavors for the masses. And it was a very, very interesting it was a topic of conversation a lot at Chomps, because it was like, how do we maintain like who we are as a brand, but like expand who we can target as far as like we want to be in every household, but traditionally we were only in like the CrossFitter household. And so it was really, really cool. And you do have to listen to that feedback and like maybe someone who eats Slim Jims is going to think that Chomps tastes like gross because they're used to like all the salt or whatever. And you kind of have to like develop, open up your mindset and never ever get offended by those things, and decide like, do you want to create for those people? And it's a lot of times too, not on the Chomp side, but like back to the topic of, maybe a brand isn't where you like are ready to rave about it kind of thing. When companies start, you have to give them grace because they are a lot of times low budget. And so they can only do as much as they can do with the budget that they have and like the best that they can with that budget. And the more success that they bring, the better they are, or the more ability they have to better the product. And so that's where I see a lot of like, I think it's cool because, I also resonate with kind of like, grew up with like very little money, and so I resonated with like the brands who maybe just like they were cheaper, but like I don't know, a celebrity probably isn't going to buy it because it's like why would they buy the cheaper one when they have all this money to buy like the best? And so I love seeing like the different sides, like stages of business, because I'm like, there's always an audience for you no matter what. I mean, unless you're like doing something really, really weird, but it's cool to see to be able to like help different brands and see the stages and see how they develop. And then to your point of, caring so much about that brand that you're working for because you want them to succeed, because if they don't succeed, or like that, you play a role in that. Like you can either help them succeed or just help them stay stagnant, or, maybe they fail. Like, so you don't want them to fail kind of thing.
100%. And I think it goes really hand in hand with content in the same way that, I think a lot of brands, they want that outward help, but they just need direction more than anything. Like if you're looking for like the content side of things, a lot of brands go outward to try to find content creators for themselves. When you've got 5 or 6 people inside of your business, start creating content yourself.
Yeah.
Like you don't need everybody on the outside. Like if you truly want this thing to scale, and I think that's a big thing with like business owners, is they don't want to put a face behind the business. And I've worked with so many where that's a fear of theirs, is like, if we fail, I don't want my face on that. And that's like the worst place to be, because it's like, that's you already comping out of being like, well, maybe this won't work. It's like, no, if you're a business owner, like your first thought should be like, no, I'm going to die for this thing. Like don't start unless you have that, like don't start unless you have kind of like that grit to it. And so you have every ability to scale and every ability to do that. And like that's most of the brands that, like, when we talk about those brands that I just want to help, those are the brands that I'm like, dude, let's go. Like, if you already tried and you're just like, listen, I'm creating content by myself, like I'm putting out as much as I can, I'm spending this much on ads, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I'm wearing all these hats, and I'm still going to meetings, and I'm sitting back and going like, this guy is going to die for his product. I am more than happy to at least give him something. Like even if it's just coming in and doing 2 videos, or even just consulting for free, where it's like, hey, like, this is what you need to do, this is how we need to set it up, this is like, don't put money here, let's put it over here, let's kind of allocate a little bit, let's put like an actual time frame on a campaign. And just by doing that, you might, I mean, it's happened to me, knock on wood that it doesn't stop happening to me, you put those little pieces in order, and then all of a sudden the brand scales, and then you put them, and then the cool part is like, once it scales a little bit, then they have the money, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Now let's hire somebody who really understands ads. So I bring him over to my buddy Charlie, who's my ads guy. I'm like, hey, I need you to run these ads. I'm gonna film 2 videos, and you just send it. We film the ads, we send it, scales. We get a 30x return, and it's like, okay, cool. Money came back in, take it, reinvest it. Do it again. So all of a sudden, this company that wasn't making anything, and as a content creator, I'm not making anything in the beginning. 3 months, 4 months later, now I'm making $50K off a brand that wasn't making anything 3 months ago. Just because that person was that gung-ho on their product, on their brand, on whatever they were doing. It influenced me to get going, and all they needed was the little baby step and a little bit of faith to just jumpstart it. And then once you get going, it's just like it rolls over. And if you have a good product, the market's going to tell you. Very honest. And so all it is just getting your product out in front of the right eyes. Once you get in front of the right eyes, if they buy onto it, just take off and go. And then that's the cool part about business. It's never over. It's never going to be over. It's like it's always evolving and always developing. So never be like, and I think that's like such a small mindset when you have like a brand that comes to you and they have like an exit strategy already. And I'm like, we just started. Like,
Yeah.
you're not thinking right. Like, let's
Yeah.
get from A to B before we go A to Z. Like,
Yeah.
let's get the product out.
Yeah.
And once you kind of like start to get the wheels turning, and they fall in love with the business side of it, like the stress of just showing up to battle, getting ready to get your teeth knocked in every single day, that's where it gets fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where, the best businesses come from.
Yeah. It's really, I have a couple of those, like, okay, we're launching, but we're ready to exit kind of thing. It's like, right? Whoa, slow down kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, and this kind of segues into a sneak peek into kind of this beta that we're doing at the agency. And Scotty, you know a little bit about my agency, but I actually talked to you about this idea last time we were like filming an ad together. Is I want to launch this, and we are launching, and it's exciting. And so if you're interested in it, let us know. But we're launching a different type of content that's customer centric content, and so it's not necessarily UGC, it's not your traditional ad, it's not your influencer, but it's customer centric content made from like what the brand is hearing on the inside. And honestly, it's like what is coming through like the customer experience or customer support like inbox, or like through reviews that a lot of you might see or skim through if you like scroll through all of these reviews that are on your website, but like taking that and creating content out of it internally or externally. But we see so much great, like good feedback about brands, or even like sometimes it could be like bad feedback, but you lean into it. For example, my favorite example of this is like it was a knife brand who had a bad review because the knives broke when they showed up to the customer's doorstep. They got a 1-star review because the knives cut through the packaging. And so they leaned into it, and they were like, this 1-star review really shows you how great we are. And they leaned into like that review and made content out of it, which is genius, because like that's the last thing a brand wants is a 1-star review on anything. But these are things that kind of traditionally in brands kind of die with like the retention team or the customer service team, because like you're seeing all these things, but it's not your job. Like you have too many things on your plate to be able to like take this and then like create a content strategy for it. And so we're adding that to the agency, and we're offering it to some of our clients because we can make the time for it, where like brands internally, if you hire someone like to run your customer experience or your retention, they have so many things. And then like marketing and those like, the person who runs the ads kind of like, not, I don't want to say like looks down on, but they're like, stay in your lane kind of thing. And so we're kind of going in there and being like, we don't need to all stay in our, like we can all help each other. And so like we're going to pull this stuff that could create such good like ideas for content that like your customers are actually saying, leaning into the like let your customers rip you apart kind of thing, of not only take what your customers are saying, improve your brand, but also like take what they were saying and do one of those things where you asked for it, we gave it to you, and like make content out of it. It's so much stronger than just being like, I think someone will like resonate with this script that I think I made up.
Exactly. And I think it's such a great idea because as a business, like your customer base and like your clientele are going to tell you what they want. Mm-hmm. They're going to tell you what they want. They're going to tell you what they like, and they're going to tell you what they don't like. And if you can just answer those in a format that's so easily consumable, which is like, because anybody can just go through and read reviews. Like it's just like you can do it, but the world that we're living in right now, everything's quick. It's like I don't want to sit down and read 50 reviews. If you can just have like a video of just somebody talking about their experience, where we all know the classic way of seeing it is, and I guess like the way that I would describe it for the people who don't understand what you're talking about is, there's always like those commercials where there's somebody talking about some kind of experience or talking about a product, and then it says, this is a paid actor recreating an actual review. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that, but on the content side.
Yeah.
So it's a really creative idea, and I think it's going to work for like a lot of brands. It might not be a selling point. It might not be something huge, but it's going to bring enough value and a ton of value where it's not like a top of funnel thing. It's just an extra add-on value.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's huge, and it's video, which is exactly what the world is looking for. Right?
Yeah. And on our side, we're always trying to, with ads and content even, it's very like cut and dry of like, okay, you brought in this, we invested this much, you brought in this much, or like you brought even on the brand side of like, you can't really put money behind impressions, but like at least it's like a monetary or qualitative data. Where when a lot of times what we're doing, we're like cleaning things up and like creating processes. And sometimes we can say like, look, we've saved you this much money. Like you were wasting this much money. But sometimes it's like hard to put, those qualitative numbers behind what we're doing. And so we're just helping brands understand like, you can invest in these things that will make your life easier, where maybe it's not your first thing you want to put money behind because you want to put money behind ads that actually bring in revenue. So it's like, we'll do this, plus we'll take what we're doing. And, the goal is to also show that we can be revenue drivers as well and aid in that way as well. So it's something we'll test. So we're in beta with it. So.
It's fun. That's what everything is about. It's about testing and just kind of getting through it. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. At the least, it's going to give you data to see if it works, and then if there's an audience for it, and then if it gives a return.
Yeah.
It's like if those three match up, then it's like, all right, cool. Like let's just double down on it, and just make it bigger and bigger and perfect it, and then you kind of look at how you were doing it and how we can make it better and things that are slowing it down and how we can speed it up. And once you do that, everything just takes off. So
yeah. I want to go back to in the nature of let's laugh about it. I know Manscaped, for example, has like the funniest ads. My favorite in particular, I think I started seeing Manscaped when Alex Zedra, the gamer, she was making all these like commercial type ads, and I like was obsessed with it because she's hilarious, and you guys already know this, the listeners probably, if you've listened to a podcast before, that I used to game full time, and I won't let anyone forget it. And so I always looked up to Alex Zedra because she was just like so good at full time. She was playing Warzone and Call of Duty and stuff, and then I would see her ads would like pop up even on Twitch. Like they had Manscaped ads on Twitch, and I was like, holy shit, this is so cool, because this is such like a mainstream brand that's like investing into putting ads on Twitch. And so with that, do you have any like laughable moments or laughable kind of like content requests from Manscaped or anything?
I mean, I get a lot of. What's funny is it's not just Manscaped. Like Manscaped is like really fun because they put a lot of the creative content piece of it in my corner where they like, do something.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what do you guys want? When a company gives you full creative control, it's so much fun because they're like, hey, we want a skit. It's like, I can give you a skit. Or if they're like, hey, we just want you to promote product, just promote product or do a review. I think some of the most fun that I have with Manscaped are hey, just talk about your balls.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, like I'll find a way to do that. That's not going to get demonetized. And I think that's like one of the most fun ones. I think outside of Manscaped though, I do have like when you're a content creator, you get hit up by brands constantly, and it's a blessing. But one of the ones that comes to me.
Wait 1 second. Oh fuck!
Oh no!
I didn't see this.
Oh no!
Okay, now it's on.
I've seen it going though. I don't know.
I think you might have seen mine at the time.
Oh damn.
Okay, I'll re-ask the Manscaped question and then start there, and then we can work with whatever.
Whatever works.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, so going back to the nature of let's laugh about it, you talked about working with Manscaped, and Manscaped probably still has my spiel. So what do you have any laughable moments about Manscaped or anything that you'd want to like lean into as far as like the funny side of Manscaped?
So Manscaped is one of those really funny ones where they give you a lot of creative control. So I don't have to really go off of their scripting. It's kind of like they come to me, they have a new product, or they go, they're so much fun because the girl that I work with, her name's Laramie. She's the greatest person in the world. She runs all the influencer stuff, and she just like trusts me to death. So she's like, hey, I need some kind of skit. So she'll be like, okay, like I'll skit something. Or it's like, hey, we just want a review. We want a review. I don't think Manscaped is like the most like, I don't have too many stories from them. More like if you want to know funny stories about them, it's what the ads do on the back end. And so it's people who see them. And then it's fun because you'll be out in public and somebody will notice you for something. And so there'll be times where like I went on a date a couple of months ago, and I was sitting at this table. It was the first date with this girl, and this guy walked up to me. He goes, "Hey," and I was like, "What's going on, dude?" And he's just like, "I gotta tell you, you've changed my life." And he kind of said it like tongue in cheek, and I kind of knew what was coming because like it's I was just like, this guy's seen me in an ad. There's no doubt. And he just goes, "Man, my wife loves you." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "My balls have never been smoother."
Oh my.
And I was just like, "Yeah." And he's just like, "Dude," he's like, "Let me tell you right now." He's like, "Man, like everything that you're doing right now, I just love it because I've never been cleaner down there." And this girl is sitting across the table from me, and she's like looking at me, and I'm just like, "Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Like, good to meet you." And he's like, "I used your code." I was like, "Appreciate it, man." He walked away, and it was this like awkward second, and she's like, "What was that?" And I was like, "So I do
Not what it
ads."
looks like.
Yeah, I was like, "So I do ads," and we haven't gotten to that point in the date yet where you understand what I do.
Yeah.
But there's just like funny moments like that all the time, and
She
it's
probably thought you were like a waxer. Or
probably
something.
something like that. But it was just like that kind of stuff happens all the time where I have guys that walk up to me and they're like, "Dude, like it's the guy mentality where it's like, bro, like my balls are amazing thanks to you," or it's like, "Dude, like, you know, feel my skin right now. That's because of you," or it's just like, "Bro, like I used your code. Like, thanks for the shaver."
Yeah.
That stuff happens constantly. I think another one is like, as a content creator, you get hit up by brands like constantly that just want to work with you. They see me in ads, so they want to work. And like we talked about earlier, it's like you get reached out to from multiple fronts. So they're like, "Hey, we need help with creation and stuff." And recently I've had like this sex doll company hitting me up where they're like, "Hey, we want you to promote this." And I'm like, "There's no way I would do that."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I don't even think you can promote that.
Yeah,
like, I don't know
not even allowed.
where am I going to put this ad and what am I going to say about this thing? So there's so many funny stories like that where it's so tongue in cheek weird, but that's just brands, you know, like there's a brand for everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, anywhere from condoms to, you know, edible underwear, you know, like you never know what's going to come across your desk. So it's just being open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've got thousands of weird stories from people like that.
It's I was just talking to someone about the whole, even just like, so odd stuff like that is out there, but even just like promoting cannabis or alcohol products, it all has its own rules. And it's interesting because there'll be like agencies who just understand the laws and the rules and like where the gray areas are and what you can and can't do and how you can lean into marketing. But Previously, I had another podcast before, and one of our first guests were actually a sex toy brand, and they were talking about like all of these things that like they didn't know they couldn't do, but then like it was just hilarious because you could lean into things in like a very subtle way, but then it's also like you don't want to get shadow banned, so you have to walk on eggshells, but you want to be able to, you know, promote your brand. And then you're also doing this kind of like fight of well, this, like, how is this different than this? And then you're like trying to, I don't know, it's a whole nother world where I don't even know if I'd want to get into as far as like if a brand came up or like asked for help on that front. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just not the right person because I'm not as experienced in the fine lines.
The easiest way to do it when it comes to like those kind of brands is it's everything. If you can do something really tongue in cheek, it always passes.
Yeah.
It always does. And you can always bleep out words and you can always mess with things. So even talking about cannabis, like, you know, like I do a lot with like the cannabis space, and I do a lot with like, you know, cannabis like containers and stuff. And you can't say weed, you can't say like all these things, but you can bleep it. Like you can say whatever you want to as long as it's got a little buzzer on top of it. It's like,
crazy,
and so you can talk about that stuff and make fun of the fact it's like, listen, I can't talk about this, so it's a secret between you and me. Let's talk about weed. And it's just like, or you're just like, I bet you're a weed smoker, and that bleep is going to grab somebody's attention. So if anything, they're helping you out because they're giving you something that's going to be a showstopper.
Yeah.
You know, and then it brings somebody in, they're like, what is he talking about? And then they end up going like, oh, it's a container for weed. Oh, I smoke weed. Oh, I should go check this out. And it's like, it's just different. There's always a way around it. And you don't want to play too heavy on like, you don't want to like test the waters too much, obviously, but there's always a way around it. I mean, there's a way for you to promote any product. It's just, it's getting creative. And that's like one of the things that I do is just figuring that part out for people, which is fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. Jackie and I actually on another podcast we're talking about this girl who she actually makes fun of like corporate America, of like, the remote work and like how, I don't know, just how funny remote work can be if you like think about it too much, where you're commuting from like your bed to your desk in the corner like of your room that's also next to your bed. And she says, what does she say? She like refers to smoking as like some other project, like household or chore, I guess. It's not this, but if like, let's say she's like saying like, let's do some laundry together or something like that. Mm-hmm. And everyone, who follows her knows what she's talking about. But then it's even still sometimes her videos will get like, maybe it's the comments, I'm not sure, but it's like a whole nother world of, it's legal, but then it's like not okay to talk about. And
exactly.
Then it's like crazy. It's a whole other thing.
And I found that a lot of times it's just sending the same content through over and over and over again. That really helps with that is, because like I said, we work with a ton of like weed companies, and a lot of times we'll shoot the ad and we'll send it live and it'll immediately get flagged immediately. And then it's just like, take it down, throw it back, take it down, throw it back. And then eventually the flag just doesn't come up anymore because they realize like, oh, they'll actually have somebody that goes in and is like, because what you're doing is you're hitting an algorithm and the algorithm's picking up something.
Yeah.
And eventually it gets to the point where the algorithm's like, hey, like they keep posting this. What is it? And then an actual person goes in and reviews it and goes, oh, they're not saying anything. Just throw it through.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's just that persistence of it, but don't be obvious. Like that, I think that's a big one is like, if you have a product that's going to like break the rules, don't test it. Just understand that you have a product that is going to break the rules. You have a way around it, but don't really try to like hit the gray area super hard, because then you could have the potential of having your entire account wiped. Which is the last thing you want to do. And so that's like why you hire people like myself to go in and go like, this is where we can play. This is where we can't, and then going to the content creators and going, hey, this is where you're allowed to play. Don't say this.
Yeah. Do you have you had experience where, because I've actually been seeing this more and more, where it's like a brand will have kind of like different accounts of, let's say they're a food brand and like a food product that you have to cook, like, and they have a Facebook account that's like cooking, like they like faceless but like a cooking account, and then they have their own like brand Facebook and whatever. Have you worked with brands like that? 100%.
And it's really, I like to keep everything in one spot. I don't like to have multiple places that are kind of talking about a specific product, just because you're going to confuse your audience, and also we've had issues like that in the past where people end up getting scammed because you've got multiple product pages that are all yours, but then somebody creates a fake product page and then tries to sell on there, and they're basically selling your product for cheaper, and they end up getting credit cards, and then you look bad because you've got all these accounts that are basically actually going to you, but now you've got an account that's like faking people out. And people I believe that everybody's a great person, but everybody's like a giant third grader. They all want to believe anything. And so if a product's like $85 and then they see it for $17, they can be like, oh, jump on it.
The sale, yeah.
But in real life, no way you're ever going to find that much of a deal.
Yeah.
And so, but it's that pipe dream, but then you end up getting scammed, and then as a brand, it's not your fault, but it is your fault.
Yeah.
And so it's just being safe.
You have to protect. Yeah. It's interesting because I've worked with brands who will do both, and I have seen that actually where it's you have to send, DMCA takedowns and like all of these things where it gets messy. We were talking about that with like eBay for a brand recently too, where they're like, oh, well, people keep selling our products on eBay, so like, why don't we just sell it there? And I'm like, no. Because like, it's easy for us to like find the people who are scamming you, because like, you're fine. You can see what they're doing on eBay. And some of those like, we are totally off topic, but like some of those things are just like easy ways to protect your brand almost, because then you can like speak to it and everything, and try to reach out to figure out, make a statement and like tell your audience like, this happened and we're sorry and this is what we're doing to prevent it in the future, kind of thing.
100%. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do, is just protect your brand. And so whatever you can do to do that, do it.
Yeah. a whole legal thing is like the when you start a brand, you never realize how much like money and time and investing you have to do in the legal part. And then as an owner, you end up that's like how you spend a lot of your time.
And it's even worse because, and this is not even on our topic, because most of the time when you get into business, you're so excited about all the fun stuff. Mm-hmm. The majority of the fun stuff isn't the fun stuff. Like it's not a lot of fun, you know. Like if you're thinking about starting a product, I'm not pushing you against it. I'm just saying do your due diligence, learn as much as you can about what business is before you start, because I've seen more businesses come up and then fail because of legal issues. And fail because they didn't understand, oh, we have to put this permit in order, or we have to do this, or we have to do that, or the FDA has to be involved if they've got like some kind of consumable. And it's like, do the little things before you start, you know, like test it. And then if it works out, then that's when you go full bore into it. But I mean, some of the smartest people I know, like they'll go and they'll beta test a product a little bit and they'll be like, no, this is just going to be too much. Like we're going to lose too much money up front. Okay. And that's fine. Because there's always going to be another product. You know, it's just get creative and move it on to the next thing.
Yeah. It depends on each person and like where you're at in your journey too. But if you're like just getting into business or you have this aspiration and you want to learn more, I would highly suggest working for a brand who is in that industry. Because for supplements, for example, I used to work retail GNC. I managed a couple GNCs and I always wanted to create a supplement brand. And then I worked behind the scenes for a supplement brand. And I don't want to say like, it made me realize that like, I love supplements and everything, but I don't want to own a supplement brand.
Exactly. It's the same thing as restaurants and stuff like that. You know, like I love food and I'm a big food content creator. And people are always like, well, why wouldn't you ever own a restaurant? I'm like, because I've worked in restaurants. I've helped build restaurants. I've done all their marketing and stuff like that. Watching what happens when you own something like that, it's a failing business model. It is, like, and that's just restaurants in general. Unless you have like, and we're gonna go on to restaurants right now. It's like unless you have a franchisable business, like as a restaurant, it's kind of like the McDonald's method. McDonald's isn't about food. McDonald's is about real estate. Yeah. You know, like that's all it is. It's not about like if you think that McDonald's is about making a lot of food and a lot of money off their food, they don't make anything like that. It's about being the biggest. It's the same thing as Starbucks. It's why they're so big and that's why they work is because it's not because they have great product. It's because they have a ton of stores and they make it easy and convenient. You know, like it's unfortunate but that's just how restaurants in the food industry works. Yep. And it's like that in every industry basically.
Yep. Want to see. Okay. So I forgot to warn you about this. Uh-oh. But we usually do brands of the week. Okay. And your favorite brand. Do you have one in mind?
My favorite brand. Get me in trouble. That I'm working with or that I just
just
like
in general. Yeah.
In general. Ooh. I'd say I'm always just kind of excited about brands that are giving opportunities. And I think my biggest thing is I love brands that have been established and growing for so long and they've been around for a long time but have just got into the content creation space. So they're old but they're babies. You know, and I think that really excites me. And two brands come to mind. The one that one of the ones that I've been working with for the past 2 years and I absolutely love is North Star Bison. Is they're basically like Butcher Box but 10 times better.
Oh, okay.
They're so much better quality, so much love goes into their product and you can feel it and you can taste it. And it's like this small family farm in Wyoming or in Wisconsin. And just the ownership and everybody, they're the sweetest small business that's huge. And we came in and we just absolutely scaled them over the last year to the point where it's they're almost scared now because in agriculture, I'm sorry to any vegans who are watching, you can only slaughter so many animals. Yeah. You know, and so it's getting to the point now where they're like, we don't think we can have this many animals. And it's a good problem to have. Yeah. Because now we have to slow it down and we have to kind of take it back a little bit. Because it's not like other brands where if you go with a Butcher Box or something like that, they're sourcing product from all over the world. So you might be thinking you're getting fresh product. In one pack of ground beef, and it's probably going to disgust a lot of people, in one pack of ground beef from those places, you could be eating 6 different cows, which is that's kind of crazy. If you get a pack of ground beef or ground bison from North Star, it's all coming from one animal, you know? And so that's one that I love. Another one is a local one here, and it's One Stop Nutrition.
Oh, really?
And
Interesting.
I love them because they've grown so big and they're franchised and they're all over the United States now, but they've never done anything in content creation. And they've never done anything in ads, and they've never done anything in like that kind of space. And so now that like me and my team are coming in and like telling them what's possible and showing them metrics and showing them what we're going to do, just like watching their eyes kind of like, I don't know. Like, it's like, it's fun because it's like, it's these people who I'd say probably close to $1 billion company at this point, but they're so fresh in this. So it's like, they're able to kind of go like, I don't know this. I need help.
Yeah.
And they're so established, but they're still like, they're babies. And it's fun because you're talking to somebody who's really, really good at one thing, but they're able and they're capable of like putting down their ego and going, I don't know what I'm doing in this. Yeah. And then taking over. So I'd say those are the two that I'm really excited about. Obviously Build, obviously Manscaped. They're just fun. ASRV is great. Clothing brands. God, who else? I mean, there's too many to talk about. That's the thing. Is I love every brand that I work with so much. It's hard to pick one.
It's funny you mentioned One Stop because recently we actually just did an audit for. So before I got into like, I've always been into health and nutrition and fitness and everything, but I'd never like understanding it on like a business side is a whole different thing. And when I used to work at Planet Fitness in my close to my hometown in Chicago.
Just yelling at like Lunk Alert guys.
Yeah, exactly. I was turning on the Lunk Alert. It was funny. Like my friends would come in and I would turn on the Lunk. It's a like a switch.
It's an actual thing.
Yeah, it's a switch behind the counter. So like the people working there just turn the switch on and the alarm goes off. It's very interesting. So that's the Lunk alarm.
I hate that, Jim.
Yeah. And but across the street from that was this this supplement store that was like a mom and pop supplement store, and it actually had a different name. And I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about, but they had to change their name because like a big clothing company had like a similar, I don't know, it was some bullshit, but they had a different name when I started, and it was like kind of interesting to see them have to like, they're just this little mom and pop supplement shop, and they have to like change their name because they're going to be getting attacked by this huge brand and all this stuff. So I watched them go through that, and like it was the first supplement shop that I like stepped foot in, like probably even before I stepped foot in a GNC. And just recently they reached out and were like, wow, we're seeing everything you're doing. And like I haven't talked to them in forever. Like I haven't lived in Chicago in forever. But they asked us to do like an audit, and it was exactly that, where it's like they're so good at the in-person like retail, but they don't do much on like the marketing, like the online digital side. And it was so interesting to like, we usually work with direct-to-consumer brands who maybe like have an omni-channel approach where they're in retail and direct-to-consumer, but they didn't start as like this is their shop. They started as like selling to wholesale or something, but that itself has this kind of like marketing. So that's like the same thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a whole new world for you to look at because it's just something that you haven't done before. And it was really like full circle of like, oh my God, the first supplement shop that I stepped foot in is like now asking for help. It was super cool.
Exactly. And it's really cool when you have like, I think that's one tip I could give to any business owner and anybody out there really is leave your ego at the door. Like 100% just leave it there, because there's going to be people like even myself, like there are things that I'm just not good at. And I've tried to be good at them, like running ads. I've tried it. Yeah. I understand, like, 'cause it's funny because I understand it. I understand the process. I'm just not good at it. Yeah. But I know the best in the business who worked for Meta, who worked for TikTok, who worked for all of these giant businesses and brands out there who are just better at it. Yeah. You know, and they understand it. And it's like, I would rather just outsource it to them, give them business, because I know at the end of the day, if I take care of them, they're going to take care of me. And so it's like we can all work together, just capitalize on what you're good at, and then also open yourself up to opportunity, you know, like, and also understand where the opportunity is. If you've been running newspaper ads for the longest time, newspapers are out. You know, I'm sorry. Like, it's just don't do that anymore. Like, don't do that. It's like billboards. Billboards aren't really a thing anymore. You know, they're still a thing and there's still a value to them, but it's not a wrapped Cybertruck. Exactly. You know, it's like, where are the eyes at? I know.
They're looking at the Cybertruck.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's where are the eyes going to be, and where's your opportunity going to be, and then capitalize on that opportunity.
Yeah. that's kind of what I've realized too, is like, so my full-time role, the listeners don't, but VP of retention at Audio and Hearing. And, I'm really, really good at looking at like the big picture and putting together like, okay, this is what needs to happen. And there's so many little pieces that need to happen to be successful at a large scale company like that. And my main thing is finding people, like all these little things that we need to do. I find someone better than me at all of those little things. And I am fairly good at a lot of things, but it wouldn't be in like my best interest to even put all of my effort into those things. So like my strategy is like, as soon as I find someone better at me than one of those little compartments of the business, I put them in charge of it and like make sure that they know like all the little things that they might not know, but I know I can trust them in that. And like I can put my time into like all the other things and leave that off my plate, and then they're going to perform better at it than me. And then let's like rinse and repeat my strategy, because I think a lot of people are afraid to do that because they don't want to be like replaced probably their worry. But what you don't realize is, for a business, like you need to be like, a business owner knows that if there's one person that they need to rely on completely, that's a detriment to their business, because you could literally die tomorrow.
100%.
Like nobody should hold that much power, and like you cannot gatekeep in business, and you will be a better asset to a company if you can lean into other people who are better at things than you. And like people, your business owners or your like bosses will see that, and it's never a good thing to like gatekeep or pretend to do something that pretend to be the best at something that you're not at. And like you can lean into the things you are the best at.
100%. And that's the power of delegation too. It's like, there's multiple facets to look at it in that sense, where, and it goes back to our initial conversation with the content creation side of things. It's like, I understand I can talk about any product. I really could. And I can, you can hire me and I can put on a face and I can act if I want to. But I also understand that this is going to perform better if it's not me, and I can put myself away and go like, I don't need to be the face here, because I think that's one thing that as content creators, a lot of the time they get stuck in. When I coach content creators, most of the time they come to me and we start talking, and the first thing they say is they want more money, is they want to make a lot of money doing this thing. You will get there if you give it your time. But what you need to get really, really good at is understanding that it's about what you can do for a business. If you cannot do what you claim for a business, you're not going to get paid.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes. And so the money is kind of a cool byproduct. But I think what a lot of content creators really want, besides money, is they want the validation of being the face of a product.
Yeah.
Your face is not right for every product.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, it just isn't. And so being able to kind of take that and go, am I going to be able to perform for this business? No. Like, you have to be very okay with turning people down and saying no. In the beginning of your content creation world and like the influencer world, you want to take on everything. You just want that notoriety. You want that like, oh, I'm working with every brand, every product. But then you come very, very close to getting oversaturated, and it happens to me too, because I work with too many brands, not too many, just a lot of them, where people are like, oh, you're a sellout. And it's like, you can call me whatever you want to. Like, I'm going to be working with these. But there are people who are sellouts, who are just going to take on everything. And those people, it's like, dude, like, you're working with too many of the same kind of brand here. Like, you're telling everybody that this t-shirt is the best t-shirt in the world. Which one is it? Like, you're losing trust, and you're just going to fade away, because you're not real. Yeah. And I think that's just like, it's so important to find what you truly stand behind and you truly value. And even if, and I know it's painful, and I promise you will get through it as a content creator, some brands will offer you a lot of money that you have to say no to. And I promise you it will pay off in the end to say no to them. Yeah. It will. And it's we could talk about money all day. Yeah. And that'll probably have to be another podcast, because I could go into that all day. It's so important to stay true to your values and stay true to you, instead of just saying yes to everybody. Yeah. Yeah. I've had some of those moments. It sucks. It's funny too, because this whole world of content creation is like so protected too, where you're like, you can't always,
a lot of times you can't talk, like, unless you're in it, you won't hear about it because like it is protected by the brands of like what you can and can't tell people. And it's definitely an interesting world. That I'll just leave it at that. But I wish there was like more of a freedom to be able to like talk about it, because as like for content creators and like when you're in it, you kind of just have to like fail your way through it. And like you can talk to people who have been through it, but like it's kind of rare like to be able to like chat with people who have been like failed through some of the things that like you can't watch a YouTube video about some of these things. You just have to like figure it out. But staying true to yourself is always key, because as long as you're doing that, like there's so much opportunity out there. You don't have to worry about saying yes to everything. You just like, if you say no now, that's okay, because there's going to be like 5 more yeses that feel more true to yourself.
Exactly. And it saves you the time, because a lot of times those yeses will pay you 10 times more. If you're in it for the money, it's like a lot of times those yeses are going to pay you 10 times more than this one product that's going to like come out and be like, hey, I'll give you this much for this. You know, it's like, and just like insights, like I've turned down 5 companies this morning in my emails, like big numbers, but I'm just like, it doesn't line up with me. And I still sent back, I was like, hey, like I can do this for you. I'm just not going to be the face of your product. I can help you go. I can help you scale it. And a lot of times those companies have too big of an ego, where they're like, they don't understand you as a person. They don't understand the value you can bring. They're like, no, like we've got somebody for that. It's like, all right, cool. Well, good luck to you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
You know, like don't burn a bridge, but you know, they know who you are. And I mean, but there's also brands that I know I can really absolutely scale, where it's funny because some of the brands that I want to work with and I would love to work with are the ones where it's like, it's so hard to get in with them, because like I have the established friendship with them, but they're like, we have a team for that. And I'm like, and you don't want to say it, but it's like, I'm very confident what I do. I'm like, I'm better than your team. Like I've seen what you guys are doing. I can do it a lot better. And it's just the confidence piece of it. And it gets to the point where you just kind of keep the conversation going. You keep the, you know, that relationship there. So when there's an opportunity, I'm ready to be there.
Well, it goes into that stay in your lane thing that we were talking about earlier, where sometimes it's like, okay, well, why would you spend your time on that when like we have a team for that, and you can just like stay in your lane in the most respectful way possible. And I like understand that side of it, and that's why I mean, we haven't had clients for the agency say anything like that, but that is also why, and going back to the like, sometimes you just do things for free so that like you can show that it is valuable. And like for your instance, like there has to be an opportunity to even do that if you wanted to. But yeah, it's like goes back to that, like I'm not even gonna ask you, like don't worry, you're not paying for this, but let's just try it, and like we'll see if it works, and then like if it doesn't, then yeah, we'll stay in our lane. But this seems like a good idea, and you have to try so many things, and you'll fail so many more times than you'll succeed. But when you do succeed, it's like it pays off.
It's a win. Yeah. And I like, that's huge. And it's funny because you just said it. It's give up for free. In hockey, you used to call it take a hit to make a play. You know, like you might get bodied, but whoever's got the puck afterwards might score the goal. Yeah. You know, sometimes you just gotta suck it up, you know, and I've done more free work in my life than I will even admit, you know, and it's sad because a lot of times your free work goes either unnoticed, or they take it and they run and then they ghost you. And it's like, this was so good. They'll take your ideas, they'll take everything. And then all of a sudden a month later, you see all of your creative ideas getting done by that company or that product. And you're like, see what you did. Like, okay. Like, it's like, and there's no hard feelings, but you know, when they come back, it's like, hey, like it's been a couple months. We really like thought about this. And I'm like, really? Because here's all my ideas that you did. Like that's,
you ran out of my ideas.
Yeah. That's interesting. And it's like, I think I'll move on. But until you get like burnt like that, you don't know. And that's like going back to what you said. It's when you're a content creator, it's fun to have these conversations with other content creators, because the world doesn't know the behind the scenes. Yeah. Like the things that are said, the hate that you get. Like I'm a guy, like, and it's funny because I'm a guy who makes ads. I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah. But the amount of hate that you get on the internet, like you're a criminal, is hilarious. It's like it's just people who are hurt, or they don't understand, or jealousy, or I don't even know what it is, but it's a lot of people just like to talk shit. And it's like, okay, like do you want a t-shirt? Like, I don't like
Those are some of my favorite. You have to follow Scotty on Instagram because sometimes he'll post screenshots of just like the hate comments on the ads, and they're hilarious.
Yep.
It's like
I love my fans. Yep, I love my fans.
Yeah,
they're great.
Speaking of following Scotty on Instagram, we'll take this moment. We are a little bit. Whoa, we've been doing good.
There we go.
So tell the followers or tell the listeners where we can find you on all platforms. Scotty does a lot. So say it very, get your notebooks out.
How's it going?
Where can people find you?
Yeah, so if you want to just follow me on Instagram, it's at Scotty Scheller. TikTok at Scotty Scheller. YouTube, I'm pretty sure it's just Scotty Scheller.
Can you spell Scheller for them?
SCHELLER, and it's SCOTTY. And just let's throw it out there right now. It's not Scotty Scheffler. That's a golfer.
Okay.
I get tagged as him daily.
That's
so
funny.
Not Scotty Scheffler, Scotty Scheller. And then if you're looking for help with growing your business, consultation on your brand, on branding, on marketing, on any of the stuff that we talked about today, you can DM me on Instagram if you want to, or you can go and email me, contact@scheller@gmail.com. But yeah, reach out to me in any way. I'd love to help you. I love marketing. Like I said, I love creation, and I'd love to come in and just see what you're about and at least give you some insight on everything.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Scotty. This was so fun. Definitely everyone reach out to Scotty. He is, again, I mean, you guys heard from the podcast, like he's doing it differently and he's doing it right. So we're really excited to keep following along.
Appreciate you. Hopefully the mic's worked.